All right, Bedros, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Alex.
it. Let me do my intro as promised. Hello, everybody. My name's Alex Vidal. I am president of Related ISG International Realty and host of the show you're watching today, The Closer Club. Maybe episode 80-something, 90-something. I'm hoping to, we're pre-recording this. I'm out in LA on my second interview of the day and interviewed David Meltzer earlier today. That one's already out there, so you would have seen it by now. And I'm sitting with Bedros Keuilian. If there's ever a story about persistence and patience, you're seeing it at this table right now. One is my persistence after Bedros. More importantly, his patience for dealing with me for constantly pounding him to come on.
You are consistent with the way you reach out, and that absolutely proves your success. Like if there was a lesson there right off the bat, is what you just said. Your ability to constantly be persistent and patiently get what you want.
Cool. And thank you. And I've only had one person block me so far, so I'm doing okay.
You know, did I ask who it was?
Sure. It's a guy named Dave Grutman. So he's on the DJ scene, so you know. So Dave Grutman is like, he owns all of the famous nightclubs in South Florida.
Gotcha.
Like, all of them. I've interviewed pretty much everybody around him. I don't think it's him that blocked me, and I put this on camera. I don't think it's him. I think it's his social media team because I'm persistent.
Sure.
But you know, listen, for us, you know, again in real estate, so it doesn't matter what you do. If you're in sales, if you're an athlete, if you're a politician, if you're a successful entrepreneur, there are common denominators across every single industry. So he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Miami, right? So he brings that aspect to it. He owns the most famous nightclubs in South Florida and restaurants. So he sees a side to Miami that, you know, hey, why are people coming here, et cetera. So that's why I want to have him on. We'll get him. Yeah. We'll get him eventually.
It's a matter of time. I always tell people it's a matter of time until I'm sitting across from The Rock.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I saw that. You want to do that. You just posted that actually, didn't you?
It hasn't been a while. So he does these Rock the Troop things where he gives back to the troops by entertaining them like the old USO used to be. And, you know, about 7 years ago now, I told my wife, I said, you know, I want to be the opener to the opener to the opener to the opener of The Rock on that thing. Because I want to give back to our troops, right? Like, you know, we escaped communism. We came to this country, like, you know, your background speaks to that a lot. And so I give to three different charities that are kid-based charities, Shriners, Toys for Tots, Compassion International. And I want to give back to our military men and women, which I do. I help them become entrepreneurs with these free workshops that I do. But I'm like, man, if I could just get on stage with The Rock, you know, and everyone's like, how are you going to get to The Rock? I'm like, it's just a matter of time before we're sitting across from each other at a table, and he's going to be like, dude, you got to do this thing with me.
So have you tried to ask him yet?
I've reached out to him. I've put up videos. One of his stunt doubles, who I met in a weird turn of events. You know how once you put something in your mind, the universe just starts putting all the right people in front of you? A guy who's a cameraman on Ballers came to one of my giant seminars that I run, and he's like, dude, I heard you say that at another event that I watched on video. I'm a cameraman. Do you want to just do something in my video camera here, and I'll show him? I'm like, let's go. So there's enough people who are going to pester him until he's going to go, okay, let's do it. Right? That's just how it is.
Well, you know, it's funny. This show has taught me that the law, and something I'm trying to teach my kids too, the 6 degrees of separation, right? Where it's like, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows Bedros. Well, I was able to get directly to you through Instagram. But the reality is there's a lot of people that I know that I could have called upon to then call you.
Sure. And
so social media and the show has really taught me that it's not more like 1 or 2 degrees of 2 degrees of separation than it is 6.
Yeah.
So,
dude, as we're talking on this, and I just love your energy, how it's just like two guys sitting at a coffee shop talking, but I'm sure your audience will get a lot out of it. So whenever I want an introduction to someone, The Rock obviously being very unique, because it's not like I know someone who's directly connected to him.
You probably do.
Actually these days, Mike O'Hearn, and then his ex-wife's trainer. But I'm not going to call on actually Phil Heath, now that I think about it, and Phil's going to come out. He's a 7-time Mr. Olympia. He's going to come out and work out with me in my private gym. And when he does, that's when I'm going to hit him with The Rock.
Yeah.
But anyway, whenever I want an introduction to someone, for whatever reason, it might be a business deal, for whatever, if I know that I know the 3, 4, 5, 6 people who know them, I'll have them all kind of reach out at the same time, just to kind of give this like, well, I heard from that guy and this friend and this person and that person. Obviously, I'm meant to meet Bedros. And so I'll kind of create that environment of serendipity. And it's always worked in my favor. And I just call it kind of bending the universal laws.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the reality is you're probably asking somebody for help who probably you helped first prior to you asking them, right?
Yeah, and that's a great thing to bring up. I never ask for help without someone that I haven't deposited goodwill into their bank account first. Like I'm always depositing in everyone's bank account and then coming back at some point if I need to and go, can I call you for a little favor?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to it. Because people that are watching may be looking at this saying, who is this guy? Or they may know who you are already. I know why I wanted to have you on the show. You're the founder and CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, which interestingly enough, one just opened probably 2 miles from my house.
Nice.
2-time Inc. 5,000 fastest growing private companies. You have Empire Systems, which is your executive coaching company, which we're going to talk a little bit about. You're a huge philanthropist with Toys for Tots. I know you're one of the largest donors, but it wasn't always like that. So if you were to sum up your story, because I know we're trying to keep it in that 15, 20-minute window, if you were to sum up your story in a few minutes, tell them about it. Tell them about you.
If I were to sum up my story, I'm the immigrant edge and I'm the American dream. And I say the immigrant edge because my dad decided in 1980, when I was 6 years old, that he's going to escape Soviet Union and bring his family to the United States. He didn't know anybody. He had one friend of a friend who had a 2-bedroom apartment in Santa Ana, California.
Sure.
That's the only reason we ended up in Southern California. And so that friend of a friend said he could, your friend could, meaning my dad and his family of 5, could rent one of the 2 bedrooms for 30 days. He goes, after that, I need them out.
Okay.
And so within 30 days, my dad had 4 jobs. My brother and sister each had a job. My mom had a job, and I became the breadwinner. And I say the breadwinner because my dad, at his 3rd job, where he was pumping gasoline, there was a grocery store, and in the back of every grocery store, even today, there's these giant dumpsters where they throw away food. The food's expired, hasn't necessarily gone bad, or if it's gone bad, you could still pick off the mold and eat it. So it's still edible food. And so my dad discovered that. He's like, shit, we don't have to buy food. I'll just push my kid into the dumpster. I'm 6 years old, it's like a treasure hunt for me.
Yeah, you're having fun.
I'd pull up bread and cheese and eggs and milk, and he'd smell the milk. He says, good, come on. And I'd bring it home, man. And we grew up in such poverty, but the ability to grow up in poverty and still be happy because you're in such an abundant country really instilled in me that disadvantages are ultimately an advantage, because you're in shape, you obviously work out, right? You go to the gym and you work out your muscles. Those are physical muscles that you can see. Or maybe you're on the treadmill, and so the next time you go on a run with your kid, you're not winded. Like, you can feel that. We forget that there is these entrepreneurial muscles. There's the emotional strength muscles. There's the mental toughness muscles that you can train. And going through the adversity of living in Section 8 housing and eating out of dumpsters and having my hair washed with gasoline one time because we couldn't afford lice treatment, and I got lice.
I said, why don't you just shave your head, man?
I was 7 years old. My mom decided I'm keeping my hair, and so she had my dad siphon out gasoline, right?
I heard that story. I'm like, wouldn't you just shave your head?
No, I would. I would have, one, either shaved the head. I didn't care. I was a kid, right? It'll grow back out. Or 2, what does lice treatment cost? $2-3? But I guess they were being very frugal, and understandably so. But all that adversity became an advantage because it trained the mental and emotional muscles that you don't see on the body. That's in here. Yep. And those are the stronger things that you later grow up and you can start a business, you can get through life's adversities and challenges, which are guaranteed to come anyway. So in that way, I'm just so grateful to be who I am, to be able to run this international franchise and have coaching clients and be able to donate to Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, 97 kids adopted through Compassion International. And all I'm doing, people go, man, you're so generous, you're so good. Guess what? I'm just healing that kid inside me who had it really bad growing up. Because every time I do good for kids, that inner child in all of us feels a little sense of satisfaction, and I like that.
It's funny because I had Grant Cardone on a few weeks ago, and we're talking about public speakers. He goes, "Let me just tell you something about public speakers. When they're talking to the crowd, they're really just talking to themselves.
That's it.
They're trying to." So I love that. That's really cool. So let's stay along the lines of that motivation and mindset, because I'm of the opinion you could be the best salesperson, you could be the best entrepreneur, you could do all that, but if you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, it really doesn't matter how good you are.
Nope.
So explain to me, you recently did a video comparing external motivation to internal motivation.
Yes.
Right? So, and I thought it would be actually a perfect way to address this question. Explain the difference between the two, please, and how do you go about finding and developing the internal motivation?
Good question. All right, so external motivation is when someone from the outside is telling you, go on, you can do it, I believe in you, I trust you, you got this, Alex, right? Internal motivation is, I need to hear from no one, I will be driven, and I will do it, create the outcome, or die trying. In fact, a friend of mine is a Navy SEAL, and recently a new BUDS class started in Coronado Beach, which are trainees to become Navy SEAls. They have like an 81% failure rate. And this lady reached out to him via social media and said, hey, is there something you can type up and send to me that I can show my son who's going into Buds to motivate him through Buds and Hell Week? And he said, no, if he needs any kind of motivation from a Navy SEAL or anybody, if the motivation has to come externally, tell him not to go, right? And that's such a powerful statement, because at the end of the day, I could motivate you all day long, but Alex, the moment I'm not around, if you can't motivate yourself, it's over. Internal motivation is 10 times more powerful than any external motivation, because it will drive you through times of adversity, through times of hardship, through times of mental darkness. Like when you're in a dark place, your reason why is what's going to drive you. And for me, I'm internally motivated. I never want my hair washed with gasoline, never want to eat out of dumpsters, never want to be told, you fucking foreigner, get out of this fucking country, you don't belong here with your accent and your funny clothes. Those are the things that I was told. And when you grow up with that kind of chip on your shoulder, I'm like, I'm going to make sure my parents retire wealthy. I'm going to buy them a house. They're going to have their own driver and all that stuff they have now, simply because I was internally motivated. Now, someone might argue, man, it sounds like you're pretty angry. No, I'm passionate. Like, this is me happy. Like, this is me happy. I'm passionate, but make no mistake about it. There's a little healthy rage that's involved in there. And just like you said, you were denied to speak at an event.
That's right.
And you use the power of that as internal motivation to drive you and create this whole show.
That's right.
That's it. And so when people go, well, then how do I find internal motivation? And I say, well, what is the one thing that you would want to do above all other things? Even if it was, you would do it for free, if I paid for your lifestyle, right? And they might say personal training, and they might say this, because most people try and chase the money. Like, if you're really into selling homes, like selling homes is your thing because you just see art when you look at a home, and I just see walls, but you see art and you want to put a family in there, and you see that little girl growing up and going to college and then finally coming back to that house for Thanksgiving with her family and, visiting grandparents, etc. Well, then that's your thing. You would do that for free. Now get so good at it that people will pay you an obscene amount of commission for it, right? And that's it. I was a personal trainer because I was a fat kid all throughout high school. So being a foreigner, having an accent and all that stuff, I was also fat and out of shape, which really makes you a target for being bullied. So the last year of high school, I said, I'm going to get in great shape. I talked to one of the guys who was on the football team because he was in my science class, and I said, hey, help me work out, man. Take me to the gym. What is it going to take? He would never talk to me outside of science class because he's an athlete, I'm not. But in science class, we actually got along. And so he taught me how to work out. He taught me how to eat right. And I spent all summer working out like a machine. And I came back in better shape, more confident, higher self-esteem, stronger self-image. And everything changed for me. I said, when I get out of high school, I want to help more people achieve what I got. I never once thought about how it's going to pay me. Ironically, I was a fry cook at Disneyland and a bouncer at a gay bar because the gay bar paid more than the straight bar. True story. So imagine this, in my early 20s, I'm a fry cook and a bouncer at a gay bar just so I can train people in a gym in my free time that I have, right? But I got so good as a personal trainer where today now, we've got nearly a 9-figure business. We've got almost 700 Fit Body Bootcamp franchises worldwide. I've got 1,800 coaching clients, 2 software companies. Like, it's nuts. And it's all in the fitness space simply because I chose to be the best in the world at it. And that's what people don't realize. If you want internal motivation, find the one thing you would do for free and become the best at it. And my reason why was so powerful. Correct.
And you got to tie internal motivation to your reason why, because I never wanted to be broke again, never wanted to be told go back to your own country, wanted to be respected instead of dissed, right? And to have opportunities like this, whether it's this or whether I'm speaking at the LA Convention Center to 7,000 people, or at Times Square in New York, it doesn't matter. But I wanted to gain respect, and the only way I was going to gain that was by becoming somebody, and that was my internal motivation.
Got it. It's interesting. Now, you used it to really excel and take risks. Where, as we talked about off camera, some people use that as to not take risks, right?
Sure.
They already had it bad; they don't want to have it bad again, so
right.
they don't take the risk. Now, in your coaching business, and I didn't realize there was 1,800 people. That's amazing. But you do coach personally. I know some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. And your specialty is identifying the bottlenecks that prevent them from, achieving big growth. So for those that are watching, what are some exercises that you're talking to me? We just met. and all of a sudden, hey, I'm not going to, let's say you just met me somewhere, I may not be a potential coaching client, but I talked to you and said, hey, identify, how can I go through identifying a bottleneck?
Yeah.
Right? And what are some of the things I can do to break through it?
That's a great question. And usually with your own eyes, your own brain got you to where you are, to creating the bottleneck. So you'll never be able to identify the bottleneck. What you need is what I call outside eyes, right? So I would maybe hire you and say, hey, Alex, look, I've got this franchise. We've got about 700 locations. We're adding 5 to 8 locations a month. What do I do to grow that faster? Now, you're from the real estate industry, and you've never been in the fitness industry, I assume. And you go, well, Bedros, here's what we do in real estate. Tell me about it. Do you guys do this? Do you guys do any kind of outbound marketing on LinkedIn? No, we only run traffic on Facebook, Google, and YouTube. So the things that I would ask as a coach of someone who I'm coaching, whether they're in the fitness industry or real estate industry, it doesn't much matter. I will ask them the probing questions that they've never once thought of. Do you have recurring revenue in your business? No, I don't. Like in the fitness industry, I was the guy that brought that in, because previous to that, in the 90s, personal training was sold 1, 3, 5, 10, or 20 sessions at a time.
Correct.
You buy a block of sessions. You're old enough to remember that. And then after
Still
that,
around, actually.
it is. Yeah, some of the old school trainers still living hand to mouth, because as soon as that guy's done with his 10 sessions, now he's going to go, I'll just go do this on my own. You taught me enough.
Yep.
I used to charge my clients, and all of our Fit Body Bootcamp franchise gyms, we charge our clients on a monthly basis, reoccurring, just like your Netflix membership, just like your Amazon Prime membership, except it's several $100s a month. And when you can have recurring revenue. So I go, do you have recurring revenue in your business? No, I don't. Okay, let's talk about if there are ways to do it. And the closed-minded person says, there isn't, not in my industry. We don't do it this way. Well, that's how the fitness industry was. But now we do it differently. Majority of the people in the fitness industry have recurring revenue scheduled to come in. And so, do you have recurring revenue? Yes or no? Then we talk about, well, what are the biggest bottlenecks that you think you have? And they might say, well, it's marketing. It's never really marketing, because there's a ton of people who are willing to pay an obscene amount of money for the best in class. It's usually you're lacking follow-up and you're lacking a solid sales presentation.
Sure.
And then if you can get that client, the product better be so good that they can't stop becoming evangelical about you, like talking to raving fans. Like, I want to go tell everybody about the house that this guy sold for me, right? And he made it so easy, so painless, that I want to just tell all my other friends who are entrepreneurs, if you have a house to sell but you don't want to feel the pain of it, hire this guy, even if he's going to charge 2 points higher.
Got it.
Like, I would do that.
Sure.
I would do that. In fact, I'm in the process of doing that, truth be told. And so someone who's a pro has to ask those probing questions to get you to think. Recurring revenue, what are the marketing streams you're using, what's the number one problem that you think you're having, and everyone's going to lean towards marketing for the most part. It's always follow-up in sales, and then being so good at what you deliver that they can't stop talking about you. And then at some point, you're going to develop a strong enough relationship to see, is there any insecurities in this person across from me that is stopping them in knocking on more doors, making more phone calls? Like, is it after 2 phone calls where they feel rejected, they just stop? Because when I feel rejection, I just go, the next one is buying. The next one, I don't know why I'm wired this way, but
you just keep moving.
I just keep moving. Yeah. So you need outside eyes, because the brain that got you to where you are is not the brain that's going to get you out of that bottleneck.
That's right. And what I love most about coaching, I told you I had David on before.
Yeah.
And I asked David, I go, let me ask you a question. What are some of the biggest athletes you've ever met? He starts naming off, God knows how many athletes, right? The guy's met them all.
Yeah.
I said, how many of them did it without a coach? He goes, not one. I go, so how are they any different than any of us? I'm huge as a coaching guy. So let's stay along that line. What are some of the common denominators among the most successful people that you've ever met, that you've coached?
Good question. The most successful people I met is they have this proclivity to be open-minded, meaning growth-minded versus fixed-minded. Fixed-minded is, that's not how we do things. I've always done it this way. Well, I get you've always done it that way, but now here's a new platform that might let you do it in a different way, right? And so growth-minded versus fixed-minded. Growth-minded people achieve 10 times more success than fixed-minded people. Number 2, they have a proclivity to action. They don't overanalyze. I say ignorance is bliss, because I'm that guy that when I get a coach and I trust you, and you're like, buy 10 houses and these are the 10 to buy, I'm not going to go, well, I did a Google search and this guy on YouTube said that I should buy those other 10. Dude, if I trust you and I gave you my money as a coach, that's it. I'm doing exactly what you said. In fact, I've got a client who does bodybuilding diets for pro bodybuilders, right? Like the best in class. He hates working with male bodybuilders, because the last 3 weeks, male bodybuilders end up injecting more testosterone, and they're all on all types of steroids, so that's a given. But they end up taking more the last 3 weeks. They end up tweaking their own diet plans, and then when they don't perform well on stage, they go back to Darren and they go, it all fell to hell in the handbasket. And he started asking them, what have you changed? Just be honest with me. And they started listing off the things. So these are people who don't listen to the coach. Like, imagine if an athlete didn't listen to the coach.
They'd be benched.
They'd be benched. For some reason, we feel that we can outsmart the coach even though we're paying them. So open-minded, action takers, and then of course PMA, a positive mental attitude. You show me
like Bobby Castro.
Right?
Do you know Bobby Castro?
I don't.
Okay, so
I heard of Bobby Castro.
Bobby, I think he trademarked PMA.
Oh, really?
So I believe he trademarked non-refundable minutes, and I'm pretty sure he trademarked positive mental attitude. Actually, everything he signs off on is PMA with his head. One of the greatest fucking guys ever.
There you go.
Just had lunch with him last week.
I'd love to meet him. Yeah. So yeah, you got to have that positive mental attitude, right? If you don't have a positive attitude, meaning you're doing something with the intention of this might fail, this might not work, what ifs, you're likely to fail. You're likely to have it not work. It may very well what if.
Got it. You know, it's funny you say that. Now that kind of ties back. And by the way, Bobby's net worth is like $300 million. Real estate portfolio $350 million. Wildly successful. But you said something earlier. The story about the Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And if you need the internal motivation, don't even bother. If you need the internal motivation, don't even bother hiring a coach because you're not going to listen to him anyways.
Right. And the coach isn't going to give you motivation. You have to be internally motivated. The coach is going to give you direction that you failed to take on your own because of whatever circumstance.
Right. So let's go to the flip side. What are their struggles?
The struggles are usually themselves, man. People get in their own way. They overthink. The overthinkers are the worst coaching clients. The overthinkers. What if the economy crashes? What if this happens? What if the landlord doesn't want me there? What if the neighbors think the noise is too loud in my boot camp? You haven't even talked to the neighbors. You haven't even cranked up the music to let them know what the music's going to be like. You didn't, and what's funny is they don't realize, like, our boot camps are 5 in the morning. Like, majority of the training sessions happen between 5 and 9 a.m.
Okay.
So there's no neighbors, man. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But the what if animal in our head starts coming up with all these reasons why it won't work.
Got it.
So people who have this negative ability to find every problem and every opportunity, I won't take on as coaching clients. That's the number one reason. It's just that they find every problem and opportunities that are given to them.
Can you overcome? I mean, can it be taught to overcome that? Is that a mindset thing? Is that just a nature versus nurture thing?
Yeah. It's. I think there's people who come out just overly optimistic. There's other people who are born maybe pessimistic that lean towards pessimism, negativity. But I think once you become self-aware, and so yes, it can be taught that, but self-awareness is the key to being taught that. I've got a friend, his name is Wes Watson. He was in prison for a decade. He's now the most famous felon on the internet.
Really?
Yeah, he's got an awesome YouTube channel. You should interview him, actually. I'll gladly make an introduction.
Please.
He's still on parole, so you'll have to go to San Diego.
That's
but in 6 months, he's off parole. And he openly talks about that, so he doesn't mind me sharing that. But Wes he has a proclivity to negativity and rage and being violent, right?
Okay.
Which obviously is what got him into prison. However, he has completely changed his ways. Like he makes about $150,000 to $200,000 a month right now doing online coaching, and he puts out these free YouTube videos helping people coming from a plan. He's saying, "Look, I was such a dirtbag that I ended up in prison for 10 years. Here's what to do in your life to not end up where I was." And sometimes the prison's here anyway in your mind. So you might not be behind bars, but you're behind bars here. And so he says, look, I've become so self-aware that I might wake up negative, but he has a process that he calls the witness, and I believe your conscious mind, like we're just human animals, by the way. We're human animals. Let me just go really deep for a moment. We're human animals with consciousness in a human animal. And the human animal wants to be impulsive, instinctive. We want to do stupid shit and then later pay the price for it, and we can't even figure out why. You have to understand that there's pure, brilliant consciousness floating around in here driving this human animal. So Wes says, I take my witness, which is a consciousness, and I step back and I go, why is my human animal, he doesn't call it the human animal, that's what I call it. He says, why am I being negative right now? Well, I didn't sleep well last night. All right, good. I'm going to go work out harder with this adversity of poor sleep. And he goes, well, I know when I work out, the endorphins are going to kick in, the caffeine is going to kick in from my coffee. And by the way, he still drinks Folgers coffee.
Okay.
The kind that mixes in it. And I go, why Folgers, dude? You make enough money. He goes, that's prison coffee. He goes, I don't want that suffering to go away. He wants that memory.
Interesting.
So
it's like a daily reminder.
Yeah, that this is where I come from. Because I grew up on Folgers coffee as a kid, simply because of Section 8 housing and the food stamps. But anyway, so I share that with you because once you become self-aware, you can very easily start working on your negative mindset.
Yeah.
But self-awareness is the key to that.
I don't think a lot of people want to become aware of it.
Well, that's why there's all these distractions.
Yeah. Oh.
You know, whether it's social media platforms, whether it's binging through Netflix shows, whatever it is, sporting. You don't own the fucking sports team.
Yeah.
Like, you know, why are you wearing someone else's number, as Ed Milet says? You're wearing someone else's number, rooting for someone else's team more passionately than you would ever root for yourself.
Correct.
It's all distractions. And by the way,
And more upset when the team loses than if you got, whatever, something happened to you in your life.
exactly. The wife and I took the kids to
So
Italy
funny, man.
recently. The Roman Colosseum.
Yeah.
The Colosseum was built so that they can distract the citizens, while Caesar and his lawmakers were passing new laws and were just pretty much raping and pillaging the economy. But great way to keep you distracted if you're watching gladiators go at it.
There you go. So now people are choosing to be distracted.
That's
right?
it. We have our own Roman Colosseum here now for
you go.
distraction.
Talk to me about Zone of Genius. I saw your interview with Tom Bilyeu, and I was like, I heard that, and I added this question. It wasn't in my original question, because I was like, man, is this more pertinent to what we're dealing with? Kind of what I shared with you off camera.
Yeah.
I think as realtors, the way we're going to beat what's happening with tech in our business is by focusing on the 5%. So explain to us a little bit about Zone of Genius, and I think that's what's going to separate the great realtors from everybody else.
Dude, so where the Zone of Genius came from. So first of all, Zone of Genius is a term by Gay Hendricks, who wrote The Big Leap.
Okay.
When I first came up with the idea of it, I called it the 5% rule. And the 5% rule was this, that there's 5% of the things that need to be done in this giant headquarters of ours that need to be done by me. The other 95% can be outsourced. Could you imagine if I set up these 3 cameras and not Ed, and had to mic myself and mic you and all that, right? I wouldn't know how. And it would take up so much time if I tried to learn. His Zone of Genius, or his 5%, is this stuff. My 5% are the things, like Ed can't sit here. I have to sit here and do this. And so I realized in 2004, 2005, we're running our business out of our home. We hire our first employee. Her name is Amanda, as our assistant, right? Me and my wife. Now, back then I sold coaching for $5,000 for phone coaching for 6 months.
Okay.
And I would send out an email and I'd say, hey, call us at this number and I'll get on the phone with you. If I think you're a good fit and I can help your business, you could sign up. I'll tell you how to sign up. My wife comes upstairs to the guest house and she goes, hey man, a sprinkler pipe is busted. I'm a pretty handy guy, Alex. So I'm like, I'll be down there to fix it, babe. I just sent out that email, the broadcast. So I'm down there, I'm elbow deep in mud. I got the trench open, the sprinkler pipe. I'm now gluing it, I'm almost done. Amanda comes down, she goes, hey, I got a hot prospect on the phone. He wants to talk to you about the coaching program. I'm like, Amanda, I'm a mess right now. I can't come up. You've heard me close 100 times. Just get on the phone and close them, right? $5,000. By the way, that $5,000 back then is the equivalent of probably $300,000-$400,000 coaching client today, right? So just to draw the equivalence, like that's a lot of money for me back then, $5,000. And so Amanda does her best. I wash up, get up there. I'm like, how'd it go? She goes, yeah, they didn't want to buy. And I realized I literally let $5,000 walk so that I can do a $20 job.
Got it.
That my lawn guy could have done. I was operating out of my zone of genius, out of my 5%. My 5% was to delegate, motivate, and sell. That's it. And I'm selling right now. I'm selling my concepts, my knowledge, my wisdom to your audience and to you. Delegate, motivate, sell. If it's outside of that, if it's a light bulb that needs to be changed, it is not me. That is Marlon's job. She's our full-time housekeeper. It is her job to change a light bulb. Trash needs to get taken out. It's the kids or Marlon, not me.
I'm going to use that with my wife with the kids.
But people go ham on to use that one, but you better than replace that time, right, with something productive, which I know you do.
Well, what's interesting though is I think the one thing you pick up on it's not that you don't know how to fix the sprinkler pipe. Not everybody.
Yeah.
You knew how to do it.
Yeah.
You should have. You were saying I should have chosen somebody to do it. And
exactly.
So I think of the realtors and us. Let's say we're hiring the assistants and transaction coordinators to help the agents out.
Yeah.
And even though they know how to do paperwork, it doesn't mean they should be doing the paperwork.
That's exactly right. And think about this. If I'm competing against one of your real estate agents, right, and I'm in the same town and I have the same resources and everything else, but the only difference is I have an assistant and your guy doesn't. He has to do his own paperwork. He has to be his own assistant. But we have the same number of hours in the day. I'm going to outsell him, out-commission him, out-market him, out-authority him, out-everything, because he has to build his authority. He has to go and prospect. He has to do the closing. There's his zone of genius he's going to put aside so he can do assistant work, $20 an hour work. right? I would crush him. And I always tell people, if you're not willing to stay in your zone of genius and pay others to do the 95% of the work, like if I decide to come into your industry, you're crushed.
There you go. Oh, that alone was worth it. I can't wait to share this one. All right, last two questions, and I know you got to go. So we talked about my audience is virtually all salespeople,
Yep.
primarily realtors. As a master salesperson yourself, what do you feel are some of the best practices to become that great of a salesperson?
Man, I think selling really is a transference of feelings. And, the feeling you need to transfer is, one, enthusiasm. Because I can tell you this, I used to own my own gyms before I started Fit Body Bootcamp as a franchise. I've seen crappy salespeople who don't know the script at all, but just have enthusiasm because they're passionate about fitness and health and wellness, because they're a byproduct of it like I am. I was a fat kid who lost the weight. I've seen enthusiasm close more deals than a crafted, well-presented presentation that's kind of like Eeyore, where it's just like monotone. And right, so one, you got to bring enthusiasm. Two, you better believe in the product and be sold on the product or service, no matter what it is. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to transfer the feelings. And the way I look at it is, I'm a doctor and I'm going to diagnose and prescribe. I never ask for the sale. I always say, this is what we're going to do, Mrs. Jones. So based on the fact that you're 34% body fat, based on the fact that you said it was 11 years since you were happy with your body, because we put them through a questionnaire called the PAR-Q, Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire, in my industry. I'm sure there's something in your industry that's very similar. Like, Bedros, why do you want to move to Dana Point from Chino Hills, right? I can tell you all the pain points. It gets too hot here. It's too much smog. I want to be closer to the water. My kids surf. All right, so I'm giving you all the tips you need to sell me. Now you have to be passionate about what you do so much to sell me.
Right.
And so I go, well, but for the fact that there's smog here, and I wonder, let's do some research. How many years will it take off your kids' lives if they grew up here in Chino Hills, where the smog is higher, versus Dana Point, where it's clean air? Okay, we did the math, 3.5 years. Would you want your kids to die 3.5 years there? No, I wouldn't. So based on that fact alone, I believe I should become your real estate agent so that we can get you a house in Dana Point faster, because I can sell your home faster and find you a newer one out there sooner. And I just diagnose and prescribe, but I believe in my product and I'm enthusiastic. When people ask for the sale, like, I'm not asking you for permission. Does the doctor go, can I have your permission to stitch that up and clean that up and give you the penicillin shot? He's there to save your life, man. So if a doctor's going to do that, you're going to take exactly the prescription that I give you.
Right.
The problem is we forget that and we start asking. Whoever came up with the term ask for the sale is stupid.
That's right.
You just prescribe the sale and you go, this is what we're going to do, start your paperwork. And if they go, whoa, stop, I still need to talk to another real estate agent. What would they know that I don't?
Sure.
And what could they bring that I haven't? Well, I don't know, I need to interview them. Okay, when is the interview? Tomorrow. What time? 4 o'clock. Great. Call me at 4:55 and let me know how it goes. If not, I'm calling you. Fair enough? Yes. Great.
So
But I'm always prescribing, and that's what we have to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Book, podcast. By the way, why did you remain in California?
Oh, because now I've traveled the world, and I love Southern California. I wouldn't move anywhere else.
Not in Miami?
I've been to Miami 100,000 times. I love it, but my body doesn't work well with humidity.
Oh, well, then Miami is
Having said that, like Prime 112, I would live in Prime 112 if I could live there. The breadbasket, the station, and everything, the Epic Hotel. Like, there's so many great places that I've stayed there throughout Miami, but it's just the weather doesn't work.
That's another guy I'm trying to get on the show. This is the owner of Prime 112.
Okay.
So I'll get him soon enough.
Yeah.
So.
And that cheesy bread they have, man.
Yeah.
Get a basket of that.
All right, last question. Book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation?
Okay,
And I want you to, and I'm going to give you the answer for the book. Go ahead and plug Man Up.
Okay, all right. Truly, my book, Man Up, is really going to help everybody, man or woman. It's going to help them, and it's about entrepreneurial leadership.
Got it.
Leadership of self and others. And if you could lead yourself and others, you're gold.
Sure.
Podcast, I'm a really big fan these days of Ed Milet's podcast. Like,
Sure.
I believe Ed Milet is the next Tony Robbins, and he's just waiting in line, I suppose, or people are just going to figure it out soon enough. But Ed Milet has an amazing podcast. Joe Rogan has a fantastic podcast.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's great.
Yeah. If you're
And Ed Milet is maxed out, right?
yeah, the Max Out podcast, exactly. And then a TED Talk. Truthfully, I haven't seen many TED Talks that I would.
You're good.
Yeah.
Bedros, thank you so much, man.
Yes,
it was
sir.
a true pleasure. Thank you for
Appreciate
putting up with me again. And we're done. We'll see you guys later.